Hello, this is Ken Snyder from UnifiedPhoto.com. In this video I'm going to cover some Canon 7D HDR bracketing tips that I've come up with to overcome the limitation within the 7D which is you can only capture 3 images in a bracketed series. Unlike the comparable Nikon D300, which can with a menu setting you can shoot up to 5 or 7 bracketed images. And that's important when we're out shooting during the day. Like today when I was out shooting, it was a real bright sky and I was shooting some old buildings, and I had to increase my bracketing range to account for the very bright sky. If not, my sky would have been blown out. So the way to get around that is to shoot more images in your bracketed series, to expand that data range. So like today, some of my scenes I had to have a 6-stop, 7-stop, 8-stop range to get all of the light that was in the scene. And to do that, I've come up with 2 different ways. And the first way that I was using, I was using my mode dial, and on the 7D you have 3 custom slots, C1, C2, and C3. And what this allows you to do is you can put your camera in one of the other modes and set it up exactly the way you want it, and then you can register those settings to one of these 3, and then anytime thereafter you can flip back to one of these custom mode slots, and those settings will be saved, and you can just take off and start running. So I set up C1 for video, for example, and then 2 and 3 I was left with. So I set up 2 and 3 for my HDR spots. And by default, initially what I did is I set up C2 as my default HDR, which is -2 to 2 and f11, ISO 100, 1 shot, auto white balance, 2-second timer. Just pretty good defaults, and then you can always tweak it in the field. But if I had to take a quick HDR shot, I know I could just flip into C2 and go from there. But then there's a couple situations where I wanted to increase the range. So what I did is I registered the same exact settings on C3, except for this time I just changed the bracket to be -1, 0, and 1. So this gave me a total of 5 bracketed images from -2 to 2. It'll give me some extra data, and I found that I was getting some better results with that while I was working in the field, especially when it kind of it greatly reduces noise. But it ultimately depends on what you're shooting. But I like to shoot a lot of stuff outdoors, and if you're shooting outdoors midday, you're going to have hard light and stark shadows, and that can be pretty challenging with the HDR. So anyways, the new way that I'm using, that's my settings today from out shooting, is I had aperture priority mode, and I was shooting f16 because I was shooting outside. ISO 200 is the lowest I could go, and you'll see there's a D+ right here. That's because I had my highlight tone priority mode set up on the 7D. I found that to help quite a bit as well, especially when I'm going to shoot. If I was going to do any kind of flash photography, that's a good setting. But what that does do is it limits the ISO range to 200. Can't go down to 100, but that's okay. Anyways, I also had it raw, 1 shot, 2-second timer, and my white balance when I'm shooting outdoors, I always set to cloudy. I just found that to give me the best results for the style I like. I like a little bit more color in my images than maybe some prefer, but so I'll use that whether it's cloudy or not. I just like the way that results of that setting. So anyways, I take my first bracketed series, and then instead of switching the mode button, all I would do is just click 3 times over, and now I'm in shooting from -3 to -1 to 1. So I've increased my bracketed series, my bracketed range now from -3 all the way up to 2, which is great. So now I can get 5 images out of that I can use in my HDR. Which really helps when you're shooting outdoors and you need to step down to keep the sky from being blown out. Like today was real hard sky. It's a nice blue sky, but it also means very hard light midday. And in a couple cases I had to step down once more down to -4. And what this allowed me to do is I took another series of 3 images, and at the end of this I'm left with 7 usable images. So I had a couple duplicates, like you'll see I'm -4, -2, and 0. So out of this series I threw away the -2 and the 0, just kept the -4. So what I'm left with is -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. A total of 7 different images, and that's going to cover a much wider range of light. And when you're shooting outdoors like I was today, it meant all the difference in the world on being able to recover that sky without introducing a whole bunch of noise. So anyways, I hope this tip was of use, and if you have any other creative ways of overcoming this limitation, I'm always interested in trying out something new. So please visit us at unifiedphoto.com, and good luck shooting. Thanks.